Hello again, it's Garson, and that is a big chicken. Oh my gosh, Cuthbert, I don't think you're gonna make it. But we have 4 new characters we're gonna run now that we've run all the new subclasses in patch 8. Even though it's the stress test, we're gonna break out some cool multi-class ideas that weren't possible before, like this massive chicken. You ready? Here we go. We've got Gale and his friends here for a brand new honor mode run. Here we go. This is so big. It gets better, it gets better. Wait for it. Alright. Oh no, they've hurt you, GALE-JIRA! So, what we can do is use our combat medic, use Warden of Vitality and some other heals. Whenever we heal, we got Blade Ward, we got Bless. Check that out. So we'll protect GALE-JIRA from nasty opponents. And get this, we're at 26 strength. Alright, we can go even further beyond. That's right, scare all the folks. Tell them GALE-JIRA's arrived. Now we have 28 strength. We have triple attack on GALE-JIRA here. And he has Tavern Brawler, so he hits like a kaiju should, right? There we go. Get him, GALE-JIRA! Hey, that's not all though. We do have the yappomancer. So Swashbuckler Swordsbard. We can Vicious Mockery not just once, but thanks to Dirty Tricks, we can Vicious Mockery a second time, and it hurts big time. Alright, and some other cool tricks there. And we have Way of the Death Touch Monk, so check this out. We have the Reaper cantrip. Do we have any other opponents? I think we could reach out them. So, we can reach out to our opponents with our Death Touch Monk. Yeah, alright. We do tons of damage, especially with the Flurry of Blows. So let's check it out. Here we go. Alright, Crushing Flight time, here we go. Hello, goodbye, Crushing Flight! And again, we have triple attack, so you're dead. I have a kaiju on my team. That's ridiculous. Look at that hitbox. Okay, and then of course, we can bring this guy down here. Here we go. Please, no. Save me from kaiju. He's so terrified. Paralyzed with fear. I don't know why. Nobody's coming there. Alright, come on down here, Murphy. We gotta show him the death touch. Alright, so once again, we'll just show you the massive damage we can do. Boom! And 2. And 3. Uh-oh. Oh, I missed. Oh, well. Crush him. And then finally, let me show you some Death Touch. Here we go. So, if we use Flurry of Blows with no resistance to all this necrotic damage, and then we go, oh bam, Death Touch, boom, boom, you're done. So, we have some crazy damage here. I'm actually going to roll it back, and we'll show you a little breakdown of the team, alright? I'll try and make it quick. But, there's a lot of cool details here. So, we're doing a new run. It's GALE-JIRA and Friends. I guess it's the name of the run. But this is going to be run 4 with the new subclasses and whatnot. So, big thank you to you guys, especially in chat, who helped me come up with half the team anyway. Big shout out to you guys, and we're going to have some fun with it. I'm going to dive right in. If you want to support the channel, I really appreciate that. Just watch the whole video. You'll find some cool builds here, and remember, this isn't just a build video. This is actually just kind of like a preview of what we're running now in the current run on stream, okay? So patch 8 brings some new stuff. We're finally able to multi-class since we test out all the multi-classing, or the subclasses. And so, I'll give you some rundown on the rules for my runs and what these builds can do, okay? So, patch 8 is subject to change. So, before I bust into here, whole point of this is we actually ran 3 runs, all right, and I've been answering your questions, and because of some of your questions, the answers I've come up with allow me to figure out some cool stuff that we were able to do, like a lot of these characters in this run. So we've run all the new subclasses without using any multi-classing, and I love about 10 out of 12 of them, except Swarmkeeper kind of did just get nerfed a little bit. Blade Song's a little broken, right? So update 3 has fixed a lot of things, and then unfortunately accidentally broke Blade Song, so I would have ran another build, so I had to redesign this team, especially because Swarmkeeper also got nerfed with changes from the update due to rider damage. So I've done some videos on it and kind of look into it. To keep it short and simple, this one's not working, and Swarmkeeper was more powerful given some of the changes. Now it's not. Okay, so had to rethink the team, and thanks to chat when we were in the live stream, we decided, screw it, we're going to do the big owlbear this run, and we have a yappomancer and some of my other ideas that I wanted to run. Okay, so patch 8 stress test 3.0 or 0.3, I don't know, update 3. So given with this is still in stress test, they're still clearly figuring some stuff out. It kind of sucks because it would be nice to see everybody else playing the patch 8. So in the meantime, I'm going to try and show you some fun builds that you guys came up with me anyway, and we'll just see what they can do, right? So this will be the GALE-JIRA run. I guess it's run 4, but that doesn't really matter. But the rules I usually run, now that we're done with the new subclasses with no multiclassing, we're going to use the new subclasses to make some unique brand new multiclass that's not possible in the current state of the game thanks to patch 8's new subclasses. We're going to rerun Crown Pally because, well, you guys agreed with me. I want to see the Crown Paladin that isn't just all about smiting, because it's got a really good kit, and I basically rated it really high, but I want to demonstrate why I think it was so good. So we'll just do a pure paladin while doing some cool multi-classes. There's not going to be mods or story or challenge. You'll see this when you see me streaming the run. I usually go over these rules. But yeah, respec as needed because we're trying to figure these things out. But I put this here because I don't like to respec. Let's say go to level 6 as a pure paladin and then switch it into a totally different, like druid, something, whatever. I'm trying to see the builds grow into their own as we level up from 1 to 12. That's a big part of it, of enjoyment for me on honor mode. Obviously this is all on honor mode too, and we're trying to sniff out bugs because we are in the stress test and we have found things like blade songs not working, and I've reported it. But yeah, just try to have fun and have some fun with the photo mode. This is all work in progress and subject to change. Things have literally changed as we played runs, given that this is the nature of a stress test. Okay, so let's just jump into the builds. I know that's what you're really here for. So if you skipped around, right here is what you're looking at. What we have is GALE-JIRA. GALE-JIRA was a meme idea. I remember getting this patch 8 stress test, and the first thing we wanted to see is something like Big Chicken. And I was like, yeah, that'd be fun to run. But the funny thing is, if we go Druid Wild Shape 6 into Path of the Giants 5, right, we get Colossus, and we can enrage, and it all stacks, right? So you would have to use your bonus action to enrage during combat. This will make you larger, which is funny because it does stack with the elixir of the Colossus, which is why my gnome Gale here is actually as tall as Asterion of all things, right? Even taller, actually. Okay. But if you do this, Colossus and Rage does stack with the Giant, which we knew, right? We had fun with the Dirgezilla. Then you can Rage, after you Rage, you can then Wild Shape. And if you already knew this combo worked, good. But what's funny about this is you can make a really big chicken, right? Boom. So if I enrage, I can get even bigger than this, which is pretty wild because Astarion's in my butt. Which is going to be funny, even funnier considering, like, that is a huge hitbox if you see the circle, right? So we're gonna make this optimize, which is hilarious in chat. Not only did we go back to this idea, but we're gonna run it because we optimized it. We can actually get 3 attacks by stacking the wild shape improvement right here, Wild Strikes. You get an additional attack while in Wild Shape. That's a level 5, any druid, doesn't matter the subclass. And then if you go into Barbarian 5, you get extra attack. And these actually stack for your Wild Shape form, which is crazy. So it's 3 attacks as if we stayed in druid, or maybe a fighter at level 11. That's crazy. So Land Druid is gonna act, we have to use Land Druid. We can't use the Moon Druid because then it would be a bonus action, and I don't have 2 bonus actions. So if we go with any other subclass for Druid, we can still transform on our action while using the Enrage for our bonus action, okay? So that's why we have to do things that way. But yeah, level 6 gets us Owlbear and the extra attack. But Barbarian will go into the Path of the Giants for obviously the memes of being a giant chicken. But we actually get extra attack at level 5. And Tavern Brawler actually works in this form, which is crazy because there's a base of 20 strength, and there's some ways to enhance this. That's why I said we found ways to make this like actually legit crazy strong, okay? So we have to get to level 6 to even get the Owlbear, but then we have the extra attack in the Owlbear form. It starts with 20 strength. By this point, we can actually get the Vigor Elixir that gives us +2 permanent strength. So let me actually hold these out here. So the Everlasting Vigor is a permanent 2 strength from the Drow in the Moonrise Towers. Then you can get Ethel's Boon, which gives you 1 more strength. Then we get the Resilient Feat will actually stack in this form, which doesn't normally happen. So that'll give us +1 with Ethel's, that's 2 right there. And then finally, if you go to the mirror in the Sharon dungeon in Act 3, you can actually get +2. So we get a maximum of 26, but when we Owlbear Enrage, oh my goodness. So when we enrage, we actually get some more rage counters, so this isn't going to screw us either. So we can enrage further when we're in owlbear form, which gives you 2 more strength and constitution, including more temporary HP, and can possibly make opponents fearful. So this is actually all very functional to create an owlbear that's massive and has the strength to match it. At 28 with Tavern Brawler and triple attack, you hit like a truck, like you should. So it only takes 2 feats to do this, and that's all we got anyway. So we'll take Tavern Brawler. This will give us double, you know, any kind of benefit to strength on our attacks. Even in wild shape, this will be, instead of 8, we'll have double up, so it'll be 16 to both accuracy and damage, right? And resilient strength does stack beyond 20 if you're a wild shape form, which is interesting. Doesn't normally do that. 99% of equipment just straight up doesn't work in the once you've changed, so we need initiative. So you notice I've taken things that prioritize initiative, like the dexterity gloves gave me initiative. See how I have +1 initiative right now? But since you get 18 dexterity from the gloves, you would have +4 initiative from having 18 dexterity, right? Then we have the soul perception helmet or whatnot. This would give you +2 initiative bonus as well. Then there is the shield. This gives you, the sentinel shield gives you +3 initiative. So all in all, you can get, like, I had +9 initiative, right? And I'm not even investing in dex overall, right? Because once you transform, your dex strength and your strength, dex, and con are completely transformed too. So we found ways to kind of like manipulate all of this. So what we really need is the only piece of gear that's going to affect us after we transform is the moon basking, and this is going to give us 2 more armor class and some temporary HP when you transform, right? Times when we don't transform, I guess we could use the rest of our gear to kind of like enhance our druid spellcasting and whatnot, but it's really not that important, especially after level 6 where we should be wild shaping all the time. And if I have any expectations for this, I'm worried about getting stuck. Look, we're not even like giant mode just yet, and this this hitbox is actually ridiculous. Surprised I can just step over people. Hopefully I don't get stuck in doorways, especially when I enrage. I'm kind of worried about that, but I think it'll be fun that we'll have like crushing flight. Hopefully I can figure out the way to optimize this, because if you don't know, when your weight is factored into crushing flight, it's kind of ridiculous. And once we're big mode, we have even more weight than this. This is absurd weight. We tested this in stream, and I think we crushed somebody for like over 2,000 bludgeoning damage. It was kind of funny. Glad I have a healer too, because since we're not staying in druid, all I get for HP in this form is 65. But thanks to the healer, we'll have blade ward. With all the stuff I'll get into with that, and then some temporary HP and some other benefits, so I think we'll do pretty well. But getting to level 6 will be interesting. The late game is going to be, oh no, it's GALE-JIRA, run! And that's what I'm really hoping for, and I think with all the optimization we did to this meme, it's going to be actually really powerful and really funny to just see your enemies get crushed by a giant chicken. Alright, next up we have Way of the Death Touch. So this is something I personally wanted to run, and when I showed, I even made a video kind of explaining how this all really breaks down, so I won't go into too much detail here. The very simple answer is, or explanation is, Way of the Death Touch with the new monk subclass. We're kind of disappointed by that, I am at least, and so I'm gonna have fun with monk again. I wanted to play a punchy monk. I just don't want to do the typical tavern brawler giant elixir, so we are going open hand. This is gonna get us an option of radiant, psychic, or necrotic damage that grows with our wisdom, which is really interesting because I always wanted to do a build that's just focused on one of those elements and isn't focused on the typical strength or even dexterity. So this is a flat out open hand monk that is based on wisdom, but we can enhance it and make it really flavorful thanks to the new death domain cleric, right? So I made my own new monk called the Way of the Death Touch, and I want a lot of necrotic damage per punch with even the ability to go Nova with the death touch ability, because you can actually pop 2 of these death touches with a flurry of blows hitting twice. So all this necrotic damage plus death touch, which this is still lying, this still has this wrong. This is going to be 17 more necrotic damage, and at level 12, it's going to be 17 damage added on to a punch. Plus it can't be, and none of this necrotic can be resisted at level 12. So it's going to take a while to get to our max power, but we're going to feel really complete, especially if we use Asterion. This build is going to slap pretty hard. Okay, so we have to go 6 all the way, or we have to go monk to open hand 6, because we get plenty of ki in order to use our flurry of blows, which is one of the most important things for, you know, a punchy monk or an open hand build. Okay, you also get wisdom damage now. The necrotic damage is not only a 1d4, but whatever your wisdom modifier is, 6 in this case, we can actually boost up to 6 more necrotic damage. We have necrotic damage, build off wisdom, and then basically, magical bludgeoning damage. So at level 6, you also get ki empowered punches. So now you can overcome normal physical immunities, okay? Or normal physical resistances. So all these punches are magical on the bludgeoning end of things. And then we have the necrotic damage added in. If we go from level 7 onward into Death Domain, something really cool happens. We start becoming a half caster. We get a reliable ranged cantrip with Reaper, of all things. So it can't target the same target, but we can target 2 separate targets, which is really amazing because we didn't have much range on this build with open hand. So we get a ranged cantrip. It's once again necrotic damage. It's getting stronger too because it's a cantrip, just grows with you. We have inflict wounds, so that's also really awesome because we can use our action to cast this powerful inflict wound spells, which meets the theme and the damage, right? And then we can use our bonus actions, the flurry of blows. So you can see what my logic is there. And on both of these, whether you're hitting somebody with inflict wounds or flurry of blows or just regular old punches, you can add more damage in with the reaction of death touch, right? And you have these charges of channel divinity, which come back on short rest, just like your key points. So although you'll have spell slots as you go into Death Cleric, you also mostly go off of short rest resources too, right? So the Cleric utility, that's going to help out. We have like hold person. Again, you could use an action to hold person, and then you can get tons of critical hit damage with your flurry of blows in one nasty combo thanks to all this dice damage here. Okay, and we ignore resistances once we are finally level 12. Level 6 Death Cleric gives us an ignore resistances to necrotic damage. Okay, so there's only going to be 2 feats here, and like I said, that only gives us the ability to go all in on wisdom. So we'll take resilient wisdom and then 2 more wisdom as our final feat, which is kind of funny, but it works out. We're going to be a sad build, so single ability dependent. We're pretty much dependent on wisdom, but you'll be surprised with this build what it gives. Wisdom gives armor class, saving throw benefits for against stuff like hold person or command or whatever. So that's actually one of the best saving throws in the game. So good defensive values right there. The punch damage goes up with your wisdom. Like I said, this is +6 because of our wisdom. So more necrotic damage there. Plus, the Kashigo boots adds more wisdom damage to your bludgeoning punches. Okay? And then you're getting more spell attack and spell save DC for going into wisdom, right? So we'll have a lot of it thanks to a lot of the benefits we're building into this. So necro punches, think about it. If we go into open hand, we get the D4 plus the wisdom bonus, okay? So that's open hand. There's the Helldust gloves, which these aren't just late game version. There's an earlier version, which is 1d4, and eventually this one is 1d6. And you can actually get this really early in Act 3, but it also enhances our spell attack and spell save DC, and it could cause bleeding potentially, which is awesome. Okay, the Asterion bite actually adds in more accuracy among other things. So the little condition you get called happy, that's going to help with our attack rolls, which we pretty much need. But then once we ascend as a vampire, we get this massive 1d10 per punch, so that's amazing. Okay, Rhapsody. Rhapsody only adds, I think they fixed this with the damage riders in the update, but Rhapsody does add more bludgeoning damage, so that's how we can get that a little stronger. But the real thing about Rhapsody is there's a little trick for open hand monks or punching monks. You can put a weapon in your offhand but still be able to punch with your main hand. And what this does is it allows us to have +3 accuracy and spell attack, which is really the bigger benefit here because we're not going into dexterity or strength, okay? So Touch of Death obviously is even more necrotic damage. So if you imagine just a single punch, right, can do 20 to 42 damage, assuming this is all accurate, then we can add 17 more necrotic damage into that. And that's pretty crazy, especially when we could do a double death touch. We'll have to spend 2 channel divinity charges, but we could do that. That's pretty awesome. And with the devout amulet we can actually get even more divinity charges, and this actually works on short rest. Don't tell nobody, okay? So cat cloth is going to be like, once we have it, that's the best thing we can use because we get 2 dexterity out of this. And well, when we're wearing cloth we get a lot of benefits as a monk, just like our wisdom, armor class, and whatnot. So this really is as good as it's going to get because it gets us a free dexterity bump up to from 16 to 18. So that helps out with our accuracy and saving throws and initiative. So after that we're done with dexterity. The devout amulet, like I said, this actually, I think this still works, but this comes back on short rest, even though it says it gives you 1 more charge per long rest. Plus it ups our spell save DC, so that's pretty awesome. If we have like 3 death touches every single short rest, that's amazing. Expectations though, it's not Tavern Brawler and Giant Elixir, so just by that very nature it's weaker, at least early on. It's not even a dexterity monk, so you could build a punchy monk just based off of dexterity. We're not even doing that, so I'm very curious. This is gonna be new and fun to me, and this is a unique multi-class thanks to the new death domain, and we can go all in on the necrotic damage and just have fun with it, especially with Asterion. So attack rolls is definitely a concern of mine. Because we're not going for strength or dexterity, we'll have to use something like Elixir of Heroism, the Happy Condition, maybe Rhapsody with the Scarlet Remittance on Rhapsody, and just some other things like maybe our Combat Medic can give us more accuracy. Maybe Act 2 it starts taking off. I really hope so, because I really hope 7 to 12 doesn't feel crappy to play, and I hope the theme and the build kind of meet, where the combat feels like, oh, this feels like a unique, almost like subclass for open hand monk, or just what multi-class is to me, you know, doing something cool and unique, you know, taking the best of 2 different worlds and mashing them up. So level 12 should feel really complete because we'll be ignoring resistances on all this huge damage, right? And then we'll have the tons of death touch ability, and we'll be a half caster. So we have things like hold person, command, and it should really synergize with the ability to use actions for spells and bonus actions for punching. And if we don't want to use any resources, we always get to punch twice, even 3 times, thanks to unarmed strike and bonus attack. So I'm really hoping this is going to be as cool as I think it is. Then we have our yappomancer. Oh yeah, yappomancer. This is definitely from Nadira. I gotta shout out Nadira Furry. So Nadira has all these crazy ideas. We're gonna run a crazy one called the yappomancer, but it's actually not as meme worthy as you think, because I think if we start Swashbuckler 4, the rogue new subclass, right, and we go into Swords Bard, you guys convinced me to go Swords Bard, and I actually really like it now that I've been testing it. So Vicious Mockery, this is just the Vicious Mockery build, because we'll be able to use Vicious Mockery with an action, and we'll be able to use Vicious Mockery with dirty tricks. And this is actually more cunning than you think it is, right? Go figure, a rogue. But it won't be just a meme build of just, oh, how much damage can you do with Vicious Mockery? If you ever seen playthroughs or builds on my channel, you can do a lot with Vicious Mockery. I can pop brains with this, so having 2 or possibly 3 with haste is going to be kind of crazy, okay? So level 4, if you go Swashbuckler first, you actually get a lot of expertise, so you wouldn't have to take something I normally take, the feat Actor, because it gives you deception performance bonuses, expertise. We don't have to do that because we're a rogue, so we can actually just have like straight up expertise in persuasion and sleight of hand, and since we're mixing it with bard, we'll have even more expertise for like acrobatics and deception and stuff. So this combo is going to be just tons of expertise, so we start off pretty strong with that. Swashbuckler moves quickly, so by level 4 we already have the dirty tricks, so we'll already be yapping, which is great because it gives us advantage if we land the yap. So we're not only doing this cantrip with a bonus action, mind you, but we get advantage, which will really help us land our main hand attack, right? So if we want to kind of switch it up and use bonus action for yapping and our main action for attacking, but we also get the ability to attack twice with our weapon if the opponent has something to disarm. We can use flick of the wrist, and you can see I rated Swashbuckler so highly because of this versatility and moves here. So by mixing it into Bard and getting Vicious Mockery, we can double Mockery, or we can double attack, or we can mix how we use the action bonus actions. And all starts right here with the strong early start of a rogue having the rakish sneak attack damage. Where is it? There it is. So we'll have this extra 2d6 in the early game, and we'll have that for the rest of the game. And we get our feat at level 4 too, so we can go right into having more charisma anyway. Where'd this go? Whoopsie. Bounced up. Okay, so level 5 onwards, we're going to be a Swords Bard, which means we'll already have Vicious Mockery on both the action and bonus action. Okay, and then our cantrip's already upgraded. So right now it's 3d4, but at level 5 it would be 2d4, which is great. So by the time we're really yapping all the time and yapping with our Vicious Mockery, we'll be doing a little more psychic damage with the 2d4 rather than the 1d4. And we have Potent Robes right around that time. We can get Potent Robes, which is going to add the Charisma modifier into the damage. So actually, this isn't 3d4 or 2d4, right? This is going to be whatever that damage is plus whatever our Charisma modifier is. So we got it all the way up to 24. That's plus 7, right? So it's very easy to make a character with 24 Charisma by the late game. And so that's plus 7 every time we throw that thing out there. So Vicious Mockery is already getting pretty strong with this, and eventually we'll get extra attack, more the Sword Bard flourishes, and we have even spell casting, and we'll start becoming more of a Gish or a Spellblade, whatever you want to call it. And we actually get 3 feats on this build because we went with 4 and 8. So we'll get Charisma, probably another Charisma, and I don't know, just some flavor like Defensive Duelist. Defensive Duelist is kind of fun if you're using a melee attack. Your proficiency gets added to the armor class on reaction if you're using a finesse weapon you're proficient in. So if we use something like the Infernal Rapier, which we need a finesse weapon anyway to get our sneak attack damage and to use flick of the wrist and stuff, then yeah, we can use this for sure. Why not? But we'll think, you guys can tell me what you think the final feat should be. What matters is we're going all in on charisma, and we're going to be very sad. Once again, we're going to be very sad, single ability dependent. So charisma here gives us spell save DC, right? Which is important for landing your Vicious Mockeries, okay? Gives us cantrip damage, so the more we invest, the more bonus we have added to Vicious Mockery psychic damage. And then there's attack and damage. So actually, if we get a weapon like the Infernal Rapier from Will's Quest in Act 2, we can actually use our spell save modifier as our attack and damage, right? So charisma now. I think you were pretty familiar with the sword, but the other good thing is it also makes Vicious Mockery more accurate anyway, right? So we really want this weapon. Arcane Synergy will take it up a notch, so if you use a cantrip like Vicious Mockery, your next weapon attack will have even more charisma damage to it. So that's actually 14 damage using something like this, adding the 7 plus the 7 more from Arcane Synergy. So with a bonus action, you'd actually throw out Vicious Mockery, yap at them, insult them. You get advantage and Arcane Synergy. I'm all for that. And eventually we'll have double attack thanks to being a Swords Bard. We get extra attack. Where is it? So extra attack right there. So if you throw out a yap, it actually does some pretty good damage, adds Arcane Synergy, advantage, and now you get double attacks with your weapon, using more damage on charisma. And of course, we can be the talking face of the party, but I think the joke is we're going to have the owl bear talking to everybody. Okay, so, you know, if you ran this, you could think of it as a bonus right there. But yeah, Will's Rapier is the Infernal Rapier. We've already talked about that. Charisma for attack and damage. 1 spell save DC, making it easier to land spells in Vicious Mockery. And it is a finesse weapon, so we can use things like flick of the wrist and get that bonus of sneak attack damage, right? So Mockery is strong. If you haven't already seen Mockery, you can hit like stupidly hard. Again, you need to understand that this is psychic damage, which means you can double it up with the Resonance Stone, making everybody vulnerable in a 30-foot area around you. The psychic vulnerability is going to double up any damage you're adding to it, like the Potent Robes. So all in all, this becomes a wombo combo between the Resonance Stone, the Potent Robes adding more damage and then doubling because of Resonance Stone, and also the Mental Fatigue making it easier and popping off more damage. So mental fatigue, this is a good, like, you can think of it as mental reverb, but after 5 stacks of applying it, you get even more psychic damage, which then again doubles up, and it has a funny interaction with using a potent robe cantrip, okay? So I could actually pop this in 1 round because I use 2 vicious mockeries. I can get above 5 stacks of mental fatigue. It'll pop another 1d4 of psychic damage. There we go. So thanks to these gloves, this ring, and having 2 vicious mockeries, all of this combines. Mockery gets really strong. You can pretty much 1 round smaller opponents by popping their brains, by laughing at them. So flick of the wrist, so it uses your charisma anyway for disarming things, which I find really funny. So we have the Infernal Rapier, we're using charisma for attack and damage, and it's a finesse weapon, so we can use flick of the wrist. Hey, check that out. We can possibly disarm them. We get advantage now, and this effectively attacks as a weapon attack, so we get sneak attack with that. This is why I love Swashbuckler. And then we have our regular attack, and then eventually extra attack. This character can actually attack with their charisma 3 times with a weapon. So once, twice with extra attack, and a 3rd time with flick of the wrist, although you'll probably be using flick first. So a little flick of the wrist using charisma is actually really powerful. This is a control spellblade or gish, whatever you want to call it. We can use the hold spell on our action, right? And then we could kill them if they have a weapon. We can actually hit them really hard with flick of the wrist. So that's actually pretty crazy. There's also dissonant whispers. We could drop something, it's technically stronger than Vicious Mockery until it gets built. But yeah, the Dissonant Whispers is like a spell version of Mockery. Instead of Mockery, it'll cause Frighten. But yeah, this will be awesome. Causes disadvantage on ability throws and stuff. But the point is we'll do a lot of damage with Dissonant Whispers. There's also control spells like Tasha and Enthrall, and maybe something like Hypnotic Pattern. So again, this is a build that will evolve out of the Swashbuckler into something really unique. We also have Flourishes because we went Swords Bard, so we can do a sweeping attack, sweep a little area to hit 2 targets. We can add armor class, 4 armor class for the whole rest of the round, and then we can also push targets. So using our Bardic Inspiration, we have these special abilities, and this comes back on short rest, so that's also really nice. Some functionality, almost like Battlemaster. And then expectations, well, how fast can we get Mockery? How fast can we have Mockery and use it, and how is it useful? We're getting it by level 4 on our bonus action, which is probably how we're going to use it most of the time anyway, because we want to use our weapon. But once we have double Mockery at level 5, how powerful is it really going to be? And because of the bonus action and the dirty advantage and all that, like, is this going to be really useful, or do we have to wait until, you know, the end of Act 2 with the Resonance Stone to really get usage out of our Mockery? So how useful before Resonance Stone, but when it starts doubling damage and whatnot. Especially how useful before we start getting mental fatigue gear, like the Brain Drain gloves and the mental inhibition. Okay? And then basically Swash is already really great. I already know that, so I expect that to be just powerful early on. Even if we're not mocking all the time, Flick of the Wrist and Blind is Santos is crazy. Starting Rogue, I think, is the right way to go, because you effectively kind of have, after playing Swashbuckler, you kind of have 2 attacks on a Rogue, thanks to Flick of the Wrist in most encounters. And I think this will be really stupidly strong late game, not just because Vicious Mockery can do some serious damage, but the control spells, the extra attack, the potential 3 weapon attacks. Like, this is going to be a fun build. Okay, so Combat Medic, last and not least, especially not least. So just to understand the context of why I'm running Crown Paladin again, the thing here is that I think Crown Paladin didn't get a good look at why I thought and rated it so highly. So we're going to rerun this new subclass, because I don't care about multiclassing with this. That's not the point. I want to try and show why I like Oath of the Crown and justify why I said, yeah, if you just stay Paladin, there's actually more to do. It's one of those definitive subclasses that's like, Paladin isn't just the smite class. So we're actually going to kind of avoid smiting. It'll still be an option, like you can manually smite, maybe that'll be my rule. But if I use my spell slots for, say, something like a combat medic, right? So we're going to try and dedicate this to healing, but we should still be built for combat. And there are these control options and spells, right? Like Champion's Challenge, Compelled to Duel, Command. Especially if we have mental fatigue from the Yappomancer, it's going to be easier to land these control spells without even really building for it. So that's pretty cool. But then there's 3 feats. since we're just going pure paladin, we can get charisma and then probably charisma again because it actually benefits our healing, and then maybe alert. So I figure we can use the vigilance elixir, but later on, if we have a feat to spare, if we get alert, which I usually like taking for the high initiative and no surprising, right? I can actually get an arcane cultivation elixir to give us more level 3 or even a level 4 spell slot for a half caster. That's actually really crazy, right? It could potentially lead to better heals or more spells to throw out. But what's really interesting is, okay, so again, another sad build. So 3 of these are sad, right? So they're focused on one stat. They're really dependent on that charisma. And in this case, once again, we have a weapon that'll be using our charisma stat, the Sylvan Sword. So our attack and damage is going to be based on our spell modifier, charisma. Okay? And arcane synergy, we will be casting a condition. I think we'll have to use the brain worms, the ability drain, because that constantly gives us a condition we can dish out to double dip our charisma damage so that we are literally a combat medic, right? There's also the heals boost. Some of these heals, like Cure Wounds, adds your spell modifier, so getting more charisma is that much more healing. That's very important. There's also, I think, Lay on Hands is based on your paladin level, maybe your charisma, but I do know Turn the Tide, this is based on my paladin level and my charisma modifier, and this heals everybody in a 30-foot radius, which is, if I'm going to blow it on this, I might want to use, make it as strong as possible. So there's also the aura boost. The more charisma I get, the more my aura is getting saving throws from the Aura of Devotion right here, and that affects everybody, not just me. So all saving throws and anybody in a 10-foot radius is really getting a benefit from my charisma, which is why I said I really wanted to make a build focused on this, right? And then your control abilities, if you're going to sling them out like Champions Challenge, Compelled to Duel, or Command, or even like Spirit Guardians or something like that, you're going to want charisma to like actually use these spells correctly. So this is a charisma paladin, if you've ever been wondering if there's even a point to that, right? Smite has nothing to do with charisma, but funny enough, we're building for charisma because of these other factors right here. The Channel Oath, by the way, I don't have to just throw out Turn the Tide. What I like about this subclass and what I bragged about it is you can give yourself or others more attack roll thanks to your proficiency bonus and your Channel Oath. You can kind of tank. You can get the attention of all your enemies in a 30-foot radius. If they fail a wisdom saving throw against your charisma, they'll literally just target you. It's actually pretty awesome when it's working, but then you better make sure you have good armor class and don't get killed. But then Turn the Tide. So we have between these 3, the Channel Oath is actually really versatile, and I want to kind of have a build where, yeah, I'm focused more on this, but if I need to, I could give Death Monk my attack roll bonus, or I can maybe challenge everybody to a duel, Champions Challenge, and pull in aggro and tank for a little bit and just heal myself, right? So what about healing? So even if I'm a half caster, you might be saying, well, just go cleric, bro. If you want to be the healer, that's the healing class. I challenge that. I think what's really cool about paladins and half-casters, this is demonstrating what I like. If you really kind of understand the resources here, let's look at it. Even though I'm a half-caster and I have half the spell slots, literally, right? I have Lay on Hands charges, which are just dedicated towards healing. There's nothing else these do, and you get these on long rest. So, like, the more you go into paladin, the more you have of these Lay on Hand charges, and they're pretty powerful. If you use 2 of them, a 48 heal is not nothing, right? And again, it doesn't use my spell slot, so what do I care? Okay, there's the Crown Oath. So Turn the Tide could be literally turning the tide with the buffs I'm giving with healing, and then healing everybody the more I invest into paladin and charisma, right? And then there's allegiance. So again, none of this has touched our spell slots yet. Technically, I am healing somebody. This does count as a heal. So I will take damage for 24 radiant damage, but I will literally heal them. So any benefits that I have, like Blade Ward, will be given while rescuing someone from potential damage, as long as I'm standing next to him. So I find that really cool ability. I want to use it. I want to see if it's really practical, especially in a build kind of focused on being that support tank healer guy. And then I can always throw potions. I think the funniest thing about healing builds that don't really exist in my mind is any character can be a healer with their bonus action heals, right? You can always just heal on bonus action. Okay. I can just pop a healing potion. But if I have 2 extra attacks, or just regular extra attack, if I have the ability to throw twice, I can heal 2 targets, potentially heal 1 target twice, right? Throwing pots is actually one of the best ways to be a quote-unquote healer. And then there's Warden of Vitality, which is really interesting because it's practically a paladin exclusive. I know you can get this with the bard, but don't worry about that. So it doesn't upcast anyway, and for one level 3 spell slot, I don't even have to concentrate on this. I get 10 turns of free bonus heals, and they're actually pretty good. They're equivalent to like Healing Word at the 2nd or 3rd level, and again, when I heal people, I get benefits, right? So, Devotion Shield, let's see, Devotion Shield, what am I talking about here? I don't even know what I'm talking about. Oh, the Devotion Shield. What am I? Yeah, of course I'm talking about. So even though I'm a half caster, if I got something like the Devotion Shield, I get a whole additional spell slot at level 1. Who knows? You know, I'm just stretching out my half caster spell slots even more. And then there's the spell slot Elixir I was talking about. So I can even get up to level 4 spell slots and see if that's actually pretty practical. But between all these resources, all I'm saying is actually, that's pretty awesome. I have a lot of ways to heal, and I don't even need a full caster spell list, and I'll be able to have extra attack, right? And what about tanking? So tanking is the art of taking attention, drawing attention to yourself, getting attacked, if you ever played like World of Warcraft, right? So allegiance, if I stand next to you, you have the paladin aura, but also I can heal you. We talked about that. I'll take the damage for you in terms of radiance. Just a small detail, you cannot use radiant orbs on this set because this radiant damage will count as you taking radiant damage, and you will get more damage from the ring and the radiant orbs. It's not a good idea. So that's why, if anyone was asking, I know that's a small detail there, but you know what? No radiant orbs. See? So figure I'd mention that. Parap amulet. I figure I'm the healer. I don't want to get downed, so I should probably heal myself too, or any benefits. Everybody else is using a fancy pants amulet, so this is actually a pretty decent amulet here, but there is the one that gives you the free healing, so we could also talk about that too, but I can maybe run this early on, or if I need it, swap it out. But I think overall, when I heal myself, keeping the healer alive is also very important. And I will be a combat medic, so if I want to tank and whatnot, with allegiance or taking attention, I should probably be able to heal myself to the full potential. And for those who don't know, the Parap or Pre-op, this gives you your full heal, so there is no nonsense in, say, the dice here. It's just 8 plus 5, which is a lot more, right? 18 or 23, it's always going to be 23, right? So that's a big deal. There's also, I could give aid, which is good for healing and tanking, so I can raise our maximum HP up to like 15 for the whole party. That's pretty helpful on, you know, half caster. Heavy armor, I think heavy armor is the way to go with this, which is funny because I took Dex for like initiative or whatever. But heavy armor, there's this cool Armor of Devotion, which gives you your Channel Oath back on long rest. So that's actually pretty nice. If I can get even more Channel Oath abilities, it's cool with me. Heavy armor does have high base armor class. And then there's going to be something like the Armor of Persistence. Where is it? This thing is disgustingly good because it reduces some of that damage you'll take from Allegiance. Plus you get Blade Ward constantly, and it has a higher armor class. So we may be using that. And then control options. So the ability to tank and control the battlefield is not going to be out of the question since we're focused on high armor class, healing, and charisma, right? And then finally, heals and buffs. So there's Blade Ward, Bless, Temp HP. If you don't already know, there's some cool pieces of gear like when you heal, your allies get Blade Ward, or even the Reviving Hands. This will give it to you as well. Okay? There's the Whispering Promise. Anytime you heal, doesn't matter if it's a healing pot or somebody else or yourself or your spells, this will give Bless. And then there's these boots, which we'll probably stop using later on in the game, but they give 3 temporary HP, so that's pretty nice as well. And think about it, if I toss out a heal, like Turn the Tide to everybody, or I get free heals on my bonus action, and I don't have to waste my main hand attacks, I just throw this out on bonus attack, I'm not just healing, I'm buffing, which is something I always liked about this game's idea of like being a healer. It's more than just meets the eye. Okay, but you are a combat medic, so to wrap things up, we do have extra attack at level 5 because we're a paladin, so we can attack twice, so that's pretty cool. And then there is the charisma weapon, so eventually we'll get Jaheira's Sylvan Scimitar. And then likely we need ability drain to keep activating Arcane Synergy, which isn't going to do much because we're hitting with charisma, so oh no, I'm sapping their charisma saving throw. But it does activate Arcane Synergy with the diadem, so that means we can add our charisma for more damage. Actually, like validating, you know, attacking as a healer with extra attack and all that. Oh, and at level 11, your paladin just straight up gets 1d8 on all melee attacks. So, you know, since we have to be in the dog pile with everybody else trying to use allegiance and the aura to keep people safe, we might as well get a melee attack bonus, right? So that's pretty cool. And then expectations, let's just see if I was right about Crown Paladin and how it can be versatile and isn't just, oh, it's a paladin, it's just good at smiting. Like, I think the subclass, I fell in love with it because even before multiclassing, I said, dude, if I just played this again and I went like all in on a combat medic or like a control paladin, I think I'd have a lot of fun. And that's what I'm going to try, right? So mostly healing and support early on, maybe just throwing pots and trying to use my lay on hands, just keep everybody alive and give them buffs with Whispering Promise and whatnot. And then charisma will pay off a lot more later with the versatility of like control spells, more bonus healing, and so on and so forth, right? So it'll be fun to play a healer. I haven't really played a dedicated healer in a while, and this won't be so passive as like, oh, I'm just healing you guys, because you have the extra main hand damage and extra attack. And I'm hoping is a balance between that attacking and healing, right? So I know this is a lot of talking, because you're going to see a lot of playing these four. So that's why I say, if you're asking how do you play and level these up, I don't know yet, but we just played, I have a bunch of playlists now, thanks to you guys. I've organized my live streams, and I actually have all new subclasses that have been played during this patch 8 stress test. So if you want to just see specific subclasses, I've already done honor mode runs with that. But GALE-JIRA is the current run. We're going to see Gale and all of his friends, see if this giant chicken and all these cool multi-class or rerun ideas will be really valid in honor mode. And I play on honor mode because I think it's the best way to run the game. It's the most rewarding, it's most refreshing, it has the most chaos, so like one replay is never really the same. And when you can build your characters the way you want and really maximize how strong they can be, even though they're like fun or thematic or whatnot, dude, it's like the best thing. I love people telling me in the stream or in the comments, dude, I tried out Arcane Trickster or whatnot, it was awesome, I beat honor mode with it. You know, something you wouldn't expect to be strong actually could be. It can be really fun beating the game like that. So come join the live stream, see what we're talking about. Maybe next time when I'm building a team, you can even influence the next couple builds too. And if you're confused about questions or got ideas, just let me know in the comments, because I am still answering patch 8 stress test questions while they're still doing the testing and giving feedback and whatnot. Because you guys are my sponsors. I know this video is long. I was just kind of like going over the team like I usually do for my run, so I appreciate you for watching. There's also member support, as low as it's going to be on YouTube, but overall the best support was just having fun talking about these builds. But we don't just talk about them, we go and play them in honor mode, right? So I'll see you there. Until then, you have a blessed one.